Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Solopreneur podcast. Today, my guest is Sharon Eden. Sharon is a spiritual psychotherapist coach who melds ancient wisdom from the East and West with the science and art of psychotherapy and coaching in a down-to-earth way. Known as the Wild Elder, she's a woman of and connected to the earth, the universe, and the divine. A woman who knows the journeys that lead you to healing, wholeness, your truth, and your own wild soul. Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you, Beth, for having me.
Thank you for being here. I love the concept of the wild elder. It sort of puts me in mind of, I don't like to use the word crone, but the archetype
Yeah.
of the crone, the wise woman type of thing. Is that part of what you help women discover?
Well, women who are of an appropriate age to discover, for sure. And you're right. It I'm stopping because the crone is such a woman of richness and of wisdom and it's lived life wonderfully. And I use the wild elder because that is so lacking in our Western civilization now.
Yeah, not just the wise part of it, but how do you see the wild part of it? Where does that come in? Do we all have, I mean, I don't consider myself to be particularly wild, but but maybe I am, you know.
Yes, you are, because it's wild in the sense of being undomesticated. So, not conditioned in any way, just naturalness, your total 100% naturalness and uniqueness of you.
Hmm, okay. Um,
So you
s-
are one.
so I am one. Okay, well that's good to know. Um, how did you come to realize that we all have this?
Oh gosh, it happened over a period of time, really. Knowing that I was more than just my body, feelings, personality, and mind. And I think the first time was decades and decades ago when I was depressed. And I got up one night, got some water, came back to my bed and lay down. And suddenly I was aware my body was asleep, but I was awake.
Oh,
I was present, hearing myself sleeping. And some people might have been scared by that, but I wasn't. It was just like, oh, there's more to me than I thought. And that really began the journey of connecting with my own wildness. And I talk about my and your wild soul.
and so were you astral projecting, do you think, or what was going on there?
No, I didn't have a sense of that. I can only describe it as I was awake. The me that's more than was awake and observing.
And your body was asleep.
Yeah, it was awesome,
So,
actually.
so what did you do with that after that? How did that spur on to what you're doing now?
Oh, well, it was really a
Mm.
long path, because I'm not very good at remembering chronological things because of traumatization. Um, but it was a gentle unfolding and then not so ungentle unfolding, because in my work there are certain techniques I use. And I was working one day and I got something which I hadn't thought of. I hadn't thought of it. I knew it wasn't mine. And it was almost like I was observing it coming out of my mouth. Yeah, you know exactly
A
what I
download,
mean.
right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it didn't all happen in one go. It was
Hmm.
just over some years. And I formulated the wild soul. I'm trying to think how many years ago, about 9 or 10 years ago, after my mother died. And I was in a turmoil, obviously bereavement and grief, and I'd been her only carer, so I was a bit loopy at the time.
Mm.
And I knew there was something more for me to do. And that's actually when I got the Wild Elder, the name. And then during that period, also, I kind of called, rather than just call it soul, for me, what fitted was wild soul, that it was this natural and tampered with energy. That's pure essence that's here to support us and help us.
Well, an energy is not a static thing. It's very vibrant. So
Yeah.
I think wild is appropriate.
Mhm.
So what do most people come to you with? What are the symptoms that they come to you with for help with?
I'm chuckling because people come with all kinds of symptoms. So it could be about a relationship, it could be about depression, it could be about anything in the world, really. And I do obviously get a lot of women midlife, I'd say 40 to, I've even worked with a woman who was in her 80s, which you can't really call midlife, but what they're coming is a sense of something being missing.
Mm.
You know, it's like, is this it? Is there nothing else? Yeah.
Right.
And that can manifest in all the different symptoms you like. Uh, you know, we're very much individuals. So whatever our problem, pain, or challenge, we can often have our own unique way of it manifesting as a symptom. But because I work really loving what people bring, because the problem, pain, or challenge you bring is a clue to what's trying to emerge from you.
Yeah, follow the
And
discomfort, right?
absolutely, I love that. Yeah, in my case, follow the discontent.
Right. Right. Well, they say a lot of things, but one of the things they say is you don't get out of this life without experiencing what you're supposed to
Uh-huh.
experience. And I wonder if, the way you came about doing this kind of coaching, it's sort of all, there's no accidents. It's sort of all part of um, other people's journeys, that those people would need you or someone like you or you to help them do that because you don't get out of this life without doing it without.
No, you don't. In fact, way back, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. That's what I thought I wanted.
Sure, me too.
And I was I was doing a psychology degree and totally disillusioned with that. You know, it didn't seem, this is of course way back early 80s, but it didn't seem to have any relevance to me as a human being or my understanding of life. And just by a coincidence, somebody told me about this spiritual psychology. And I went on to train with them for 7 years to become a psychotherapist first.
Okay.
And and I know I've wandered off because I'm thinking, what did Bev just ask me?
Um, we were talking about how you don't get out of
Oh,
this life.
right. Okay. No, I, I, some people do go out of it.
Do you think?
yeah, I kind of know because I was in relationship with a man who started getting enormous tingling in his hands, enormous tingling.
Oh,
And he'd been exploring an Eastern, I can't remember the name, but an Eastern tradition of healing with your hands. It was energetic, but it was also hands-on. All right. And when I said to him, that's why it's happening. This is a sign you're being called to it. And he poo-pooed it. He said, well, the training's at a weekend. And he was a hairdresser. He said, but I can't go to it because I've got to work. And that was it.
hmm,
So I think some people uh, do get out of it for whatever reasons. Who knows? Who knows?
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really, because for me, it couldn't have been plainer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It does seem pretty obvious.
yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe it wasn't for him. Maybe that was something that he was had a passing interest in. And
You're
maybe his
so
experience was to see it but not do it. I don't
um
know.
what fitted for him was to ignore it.
Hmm.
That really fitted.
But then maybe
But
he didn't grow by not embracing it.
who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
who
I would
knows?
say I'm not the goddess, so I know nothing where other people's journeys are concerned.
Yeah,
You know, the who's and whys and all the rest of it.
exactly.
It's
Do
enough coping with my own journey.
exactly. We got enough going on.
Yeah.
Is it mostly what people want to do for a living, or is it there more to it than that? Just how you want to be, or what kind of person you want to be that's lurking.
I I think it's your potential lurking. I think it's the unfolding of your original design that you either meet and in some way make this crazy contract with that this is a lifetime's journey. Or I guess for some people they just shut down. So I think it starts with that unfolding that calls you towards a certain profession, like being a psychotherapist. And interestingly, I wasn't that conscious. When I felt called towards psychology, it was all about me helping people out there who were in pain. I hadn't yet discovered my own pain, and that really I needed to do the work myself.
First.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Interesting.
Not that
Um,
it ever stopped, but there was work to be done before I could work with other people.
mm-hmm. Um, you have quite an array of tools that you use. Um, Something called synthesis, I
Yes,
believe. Uh,
yes.
and that's a thing. That's a thing in psychology, right?
It is a spiritual psychology. And that was the psychology that I trained in all those years ago from the degree.
Who knew that you could get, like a designation in that?
Well, then when I trained in it at the time, there wasn't, and the year after, it then became a master's degree.
Hmm,
Mm,
very cool. Do
mm.
you consider yourself psychic? Are you psychic actually? Do you have any?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yes. psychic, not in the sense that I can foretell disasters. Have
Hmm.
I just muted myself?
No,
Oh, you
no,
can hear me.
I can hear you.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Me and tech have this love-hate relationship.
Yes, I hear
But
you.
that's okay. Um, okay, so remind me, Beth, what were we saying?
Psychic. Psychic.
Oh, yes. Not psychic in the sense I can foretell things, but very much psychic in picking up energies and in knowing things about another person I couldn't possibly know.
Hmm. Interesting. So you sort of tune into the person's energy type of thing, to
Um,
pick those things up, or does it just kind of comes your way?
um, Sometimes it comes my way, and it usually comes my way in pictures. I
Hmm.
see or sense pictures, which what happens then is, I surrender to them, and then I hear words, and then I get whatever the information is. Um, and sometimes it comes as a knowing, just a knowing that doesn't, just a knowing that for example, I met someone networking some weeks ago, and during the conversation, uh, I just said, I have to tell you that I'm getting that I need to be careful with you. And and then she just shared that there was a lot on her plate, a hell
Mm.
of a lot on her plate.
Mhm.
So, and I also trained as a medium for a couple of years,
Oh.
not because I wanted to become a medium, but because I was already getting messages, and it was so wonderfully useful in helping other people heal themselves that I wanted to hone my skills to be able to be more conscious of receiving.
And I'm sure that you can use that at times
Mm.
in your coaching because people are very often suffering from loss of loved ones and that kind of thing, grief.
But it's
That's
really interesting. In the discipline I was taught, it was about there being a beneficial energy in the universe that really wants to help and support humans. And that when you're a medium, you're actually tapping into that energy, which manifests in a known form for the person you're working with.
hmm,
I know. So whether it really is my mother that's come
I see.
or not, uh, who knows?
Exactly. Well, it could be this energy could be coming from the other side. It could be coming from ETs, perhaps. Who knows, right?
Who knows?
Messages are messages.
Absolutely. But my experience is that it is a benevolent energy.
Mhm.
Sometimes people say to me, "Oh, aren't you scared of the dark forces?" And the way I work, they don't exist. So they don't, if they are there, I don't think they are. I think
Yeah,
love is the overriding universal energy.
it's much more
Uh,
powerful than the other.
yes, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I wonder if some of these darker things that people experience is residual stuff, residual energies from. I heard a story the other day about somebody that um, stayed in an Airbnb and that they woke up in the middle of the night hearing a huge crash and they were terrified and whatnot. And they asked someone who's psychic about it, and they said it's residual energy. There was a crime that was committed there.
Mm.
And so there's residual energies just kind of
Yeah.
floating around, but they don't have any agenda or anything. It's just sort of there. Yeah.
Yes, I get
So
that.
I think that's a useful way to think of so-called negative energies. You know,
Yeah,
they're not really there to hurt you, so don't think of them that way, and
that's
they'll
right.
be less that way. Yeah, something like that. Well, Sharon, I want to ask you what's your favorite part of this? What would be an example of something that really lit you up about when you're working with a client?
Oh gosh.
So many things, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's my favorite part? Hmm. There's so many favorite parts.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes my most favorite part is when they're ready to go. And I say to them in the nicest possible way, I hope I never see you again. With clients for whom that is appropriate and they
Yeah,
can laugh and enjoy it,
sure.
but not for others. I think it's my favorite part is at a point in the work where somebody has been in such pain and they begin to move out of it. They begin to understand their magnificence, and that they don't have to keep on repeating this pain forever. They have choice, and I just love it. So
Hmm.
powerful
That's
for that.
beautiful. Yeah, awesome. You have something very exciting happening in a couple of weeks. Just to clarify, these um, podcasts are kind of in perpetuity, right? So here we are on October the 1st, 2024. So now what's happening for you soon?
What's happening for me soon is the publication of this book that I adore. I'm calling it my legacy book. And its title is, as you can see, Rediscovered. And it's for midlife women who feel discontented or even lost. Um, and it uses what I call down and dirty spirituality to help them revitalize who they really are, to begin to make connections, beneath the conditioning with their self and their wild soul. It revitalizes where they're going and what they came here to do. So they can connect more with themselves and create a life of more meaning and purpose, fulfillment.
Hmm, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Can't
Thank
wait
you.
for that to come out.
Well, it's a crazy, wonderful, it's got lots of my craziness in it, like this map of emotional states. So you can actually plot where you are at any one time.
Very
It's
good.
really quite comprehensive, but it's a short book, 152 pages, because nobody's got the time to
Exactly.
pore over tomes these days.
Exactly. So what's something that people can do? What would be the first step for somebody who's listening to this and thinking, I really want to discover this wild soul of mine?
Right, here's the funny thing. Your wild soul is absolutely in front of your nose or behind it, whichever way you want to look at it. It's with us constantly. And there's a lot of mumbo jumbo uh, put out there, and some elitist rubbish, I think, as well, about how to connect with your wild soul. Because the simplest way is to sit quietly, just to sit quietly, and just to, I'm lost for words actually. When my eyes get stuck like that, it usually means something's coming through. So bear with me, Beth.
Mhm.
Oh, so what I'm being reminded of is to sit in love with themselves. Just sit in love with themselves. Nothing to do, nowhere to go, no working out, nothing at all. Just sitting quietly, simply. And as they develop that quietness and that ability to hear themselves, the connection will begin.
It's
And the
awesome.
most important thing is that our wild soul, your wild soul, is here right now.
Interesting. So it's like a little ironic that to find your wild soul, you should be still.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, sit with yourself, kind of like you would sit with a friend, but you're sitting
Yeah,
with yourself.
absolutely.
I love that.
Sitting with yourself quietly.
Yeah.
Nothing
Eh,
else going on. Just I suppose as well, it's not that you're consciously curious. I think it's about just being open. I'm ready to receive you. Here I am. I'm listening.
And then have a look at Rediscovered, your
Yeah, I
book,
think so.
and contact Sharon. What's the best way for people to contact you while we're on the subject?
Okay, the best way. I'm on LinkedIn at Sharon Eden Wild Elder. You can get me via my website, which is thewildelder.com.
Okay.
And you can find the book on Amazon or re-discovered.life. I love that. I I was over the moon when I found that domain. Rediscovered life. Yes.
Rediscovered.life. That's perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Did you have any sort of last words for the listeners other than buy the book? I'm just kidding.
um, yes, thank you for having me, Bev. I've really enjoyed being with you.
I have to.
And and I suppose the last thing I want to say is just be aware how magnificent you are. Even if you don't know it, you are magnificent and so precious.
Beautiful. Beautiful message. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for
Bev.
being here. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
All right. I will talk to you again soon, okay?
I hope so.
I hope so. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye for now.